Twitch.
5, 4, 3, 2, go for it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Meal Prep Live with Better University. Today on Saturday, because Sunday is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. We're going to make chicken nuggets today, of course, healthy chicken nuggets, and sweet potato fries. I'm also going to be doing a side salad. I'm not going to be doing that here just because today we're in Dan's kitchen. So that's just something simple that I'm sure you all know how to make a salad, so I don't have to make that.
Careful, don't assume.
What's in your salad?
So in my salad, so what I did is at Wegmans I got a huge spring mix, and then I got some cucumbers and what else? Carrots and stuff. So, I mean, you just start with the base and then just add whatever vegetables you like. And then we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting, which was actually brought up from one of our viewers. So that's going to be a great chat. So first, I'm going to do our meal prep, and then we'll talk about our fasting. And then, as always, feel free to ask us questions as I go through the meal prep as well. All right. Oh, also, Instagram people, you can follow or you can look up on YouTube Better University, and you can see our viewing experience from below, and you can also see Dan and Victoria's beautiful face.
Ah, yes, and don't forget, if you're enjoying our show, please help us out. Subscribe, like, follow, whatever you gotta do. We appreciate it because, again, the more eyes we have, quite frankly, increases our odds in the algorithm and all that fun, complicated stuff that nobody really cares about.
But we care about it.
But, you know, we want to reach more people so we can help other people out.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, the best way to do that is to manipulate the algorithms.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to start by doing the french fries because that takes the longest. So I have the oven preheated to 425 degrees. And to save time, I already cut up the sweet potatoes. Okay.
Which are very difficult to cut up sometimes.
Which is
why you might have sharpened the knife.
Yes, and I also took Jamie's trick of putting it in the microwave.
Oh, yes.
Which helps.
I always forget about that.
Yep, so what I did was put it in the microwave so it softened it up a bit so it was easier to cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the tip for that, you guys, you get a paper towel, just kind of dampen it, wrap your potato up in that paper towel, toss it in the microwave for a minute, and boom, you've got a nice soft potato for cutting. Of course, it will be a little warm when you take it out, so just be careful. If you don't have a high threshold for heat tolerance, holding on to the potato while cutting it may be a little uncomfortable for you.
Speaking of, I just found an UV glove. As we're moving out of the house,
An UV glove?
Yeah, you literally just put the glove on and it's like you just can use it, take and stuff out.
So is it like a really thin material too? So you can
it's thick.
Oh, okay.
But
so like an oven mitt?
Slightly.
Except it's got fingers?
Yes.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, gee, cool. Oh, hi, buddy.
What? I'm scared. It's a dead coyote.
Some animal just pressed itself up against the bottom of my foot. It was kind of weird.
On the bottom?
What are you doing? Yeah, it was literally right at the bottom of my foot.
Alright guys, so we have our sweet potatoes chopped up.
There he is, the animal.
The animal!
On YouTube and Twitch, guys.
Yes, YouTube and Twitch, search Better University, you can see them. Alright, so.
The dog.
And your faces.
And us.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use salt, pepper, and paprika. First, I'm going to toss it in olive oil so that the seasoning sticks to the potatoes. So just toss it in there.
We're going to be competing for attention now. Are you watching Danielle cook or are you watching the dog?
The dog is definitely way more important. Way more important. Alright, so you're just going to toss it around just to try to cover as much surface area of the potato that you can. So that looks pretty good. Alright. Okay, next. Paprika, salt, pepper. Okay. So same thing, you're just going to toss them in. Then you're going to toss it around, evenly coat. Your pepper. Alright, and then we're going to give it another toss. Oh, I love smoked paprika.
Yeah.
Much more than regular.
You know,
I'm eating smoked.
I honestly love the flavor of that in general. Yeah.
Yes, this just smoked Never
I
fails.
kind of miss it. My father used to do that a lot. He'd have a smoker that he'd smoke meats, get up at the crack of dawn and do that.
I know. 'Cause
Really? Like, wait,
Yeah.
how do you
It takes
even,
so
like,
long.
what's the
Well,
process?
So here's the thing, though. Nowadays, they've got much more sophisticated equipment, and you can set it to basically smoke itself.
Oh, jeez. Small.
But the process used to be you'd have to check on it every once in a while, make sure you put fresh chips in it, make sure they're the right dampness or dryness, whatever you're going for. It was absolutely a process, but smoked meats always come out so good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put it in this one because it's a little small.
Oh.
So that way it has little.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of our cookware is still from when we were living in a tiny apartment. So our oven was about half the size of that oven. Wow. Yeah, it was actually really interesting trying to cook in that kitchen, let me tell you.
Oh, I can imagine. All right, well, I hope that cooks fine.
Yeah, turn the heat up a little bit.
Yeah, it's all good.
450.
Ooh. What was that?
That was almost a broken toe.
The paprika. It was like, it knew we were talking about it.
All right, so I'm going to put this in.
I don't know if you want to smell that paprika there, buddy.
So we're going to let that go. Put the timer on, 35.
There he is.
You got your debut.
He made it onto Instagram.
Ooh, Odie boy.
And he's going to explore the paprika.
That's so cute.
Okay. So now we're going to do our chicken. So again, interest of time, I already cut up the chicken. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Mm.
But you just want to make sure that they're all the same size, just so that they cook evenly. Okay.
So what size exactly is a nugget? Is that a
nugget?
unit of measurement?
I wonder.
I'm sure it is, but it's really just a bite-sized piece.
Okay.
But again, the most important part is that they're consistently the same size. So whatever bite size you prefer.
A small chunk or lump of substance.
Ooh.
Look at that. That
Chunk
is
or lump?
a legitimate unit. All right.
It's a unit. Okay. So we have 3 bowls here. So we have a little assembly line. We're gonna start with. We're gonna start with the salt and pepper first. Just a little sprinkle of that, and then we're gonna dip it in the olive oil. And then this is a mixture of panko, breadcrumbs, whole wheat breadcrumbs, and what else? The cheese, Parmesan cheese.
Ooh.
So
amazing.
So are you using the 2 different ones to give it like flavor with the panko, but like making it more healthy with the whole grain? Is that the idea?
Yes.
Ah, there we go. A
So
little
I wonder,
life hack.
Yeah, I wonder what it would be like with just the whole grain ones. Just less flavor.
But also because the panko crust or the panko breadcrumbs have more substance.
Okay.
They're bigger. It also gives it more of a crunch.
Yeah.
So I've never tried this with chicken bites or nuggets or whatnot, but I've definitely crusted things before using oats.
Yes.
Mm.
Yep.
It definitely comes out
That's
pretty
great.
darn good.
A lot of people use Ritz.
Yeah,
Ritz
Ritz
crackers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're buttery and salty. Who wouldn't love crushed up Ritz cracker?
Yes.
Actually, I think that's what my mother used to use for her baked macaroni and cheese casserole crust. Oh, comfort food.
Alright, so this is definitely time consuming. So what you could do is also just do a few of them at the same time. So let me grab a few.
Oh, we going double fist them nuggets.
Oh, we double fisted nuggets today. Okay.
Sounds like something I would do on a Thursday night.
Double fisted nuggets.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, that sounds great.
Maybe not anymore. Back in the day, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to lie to them.
Oh, that wouldn't help anybody. No, I mean, if I am going to get real for a moment, kind of talk about, the very unhealthy habits and ways that I used to live, a Thursday night. For those of you that aren't aware, Thursday is the unofficial college holiday. Every Thursday, it's a weekly event. They call it Thirsty Thursday. And so we would go out and we would do terrible things to our liver. And then when we were done doing terrible things to our liver, we'd go to McDonald's or Taco Bell or Burger King or whatever was open at, 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not very healthy, not very good for me.
Where'd you go to school?
Anna Maria.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was
It's a small drinking school with a Catholic problem.
That's great.
Just kidding. I love you, AMU. Oh,
What
wait,
did
you're
you
not a
study
university. Well, I studied a lot of things
English,
while I was
right?
at Anna Maria.
Oh, God.
So I started off wanting to be an English teacher.
Yeah.
And that didn't end up working out with, apparently you actually have to show up to classes to pass.
Who knew that you were like
It's
this?
so
That's
crazy.
so crazy.
It's-
See, you can really turn your life around. Dan's an example.
Absolutely. Years ago, I was definitely an example of how you didn't want to live your life.
So how long ago was this?
Yeah,
How long
that's a
ago
good
was
question.
this?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. That would have been between the ages of 18 and 22.
Yep.
So about a little more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it only took me, 12 years, but I think I've kind of figured it out now.
We'll never all figure it out.
Yeah. So for any of you college-age folks who may be watching this, if anybody tells you you don't have your poop in a group, or you don't have it all together,
I've never
don't
that.
never?
Never.
Oh, it's like a polite way to say it. Although I guess it's really not
Actually,
polite to talk about those
yeah.
things while somebody's cooking food.
Whoa.
But anyways,
Nuggets.
so just try to have a heartfelt moment here with the viewers.
Keep going.
So, even if you're 30 years old and you still don't feel like you quite have your life together, there is no written rule that says you have to have it figured out right now. You just live your life with the intent and purpose of being a little bit better today than you were yesterday. I mean, that's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are in your own personal journey. You can't force growth and development. I mean, all right, maybe you can, but that's like military school, things like that. Who knows? Maybe if I did have that kind of discipline in my life, it may have been different. But then again, I was really good at manipulating discipline when I was a kid, so who knows?
Yeah.
But that being said, bring it all back to the original point. I didn't have it figured out when, you're supposed to have it figured out, and I would even argue I don't completely have it figured out now. I'm just doing all right. I'm doing better.
No, I don't think you.
I don't think you ever
I
will
don't
in your
know.
entire
But
life.
why
That's a
would
good
you?
point.
Why would you ever want to?
I don't know.
'Cause
Because then
you know-
there's no more
What's the
challenges.
purpose of figuring?
There's no
life
room
out?
to grow and develop.
Exactly.
What's the
That just
point?
never can happen. There's
What's the
so
point?
much to
There's
do
no
in this
point.
world, and our
Exactly.
minds are so complicated, and
Yeah.
our bodies that you can always do something different.
So here's the parallel I can draw from that. When you're watching a really awesome TV show and you get to the end of it and there's no more, and you're just kind of like,
Exactly.
what do I do
There
now?
you go. Good.
What do I do now?
It
There's
feels
no
empty.
So that's the same thing, Don't try to solve all of life's mysteries. I mean, obviously try to solve all of life's mysteries because, well, you're not going to solve all of life's mysteries.
Exactly.
But in that active pursuit, you're probably going to figure out a lot of really cool stuff along the way.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's cliche, but it's the truth.
I know.
I love those cliches because, gosh darn
it's
it,
so true.
they
Yeah.
are so
Darn it.
true.
And you learn them over time. You're like, oh damn, I heard that one not long ago, and you're like, now I live it.
Yep. Oh my God. I am a walking book of anecdotes.
Oh yeah.
Baby steps and little bets pave the way to great success.
All right, we got one tray done.
Woo!
That wasn't
A lot.
bad.
Man, I'm loving the view we got right here. See, I can't quite see from where I'm sitting, but
Yeah.
I can look at our feed that we got going on right here, and that looks tasty.
Yummy.
I mean, I suppose as tasty as raw chicken and not
Good
gonna be,
luck.
Lumps of raw chicken.
Lumps.
Chunky, chunky.
So have you ever wondered how our ancestors worked around not having cooked meat before, we discovered fire?
Yeah.
Or no, not even that. Not even discovered fire, but discovered that you could cook your
Right.
food in
Yes,
fire?
'cause
I wonder
that's
what the turning point was.
Oh.
What was that triggered?
That's something we'll probably never know too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
For sure.
I can't imagine there's any way to actually figure that out. I mean, we can speculate.
Yeah, but there's no way of actually knowing.
Do you think that people could eat raw meat then?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, you could eat it, and chances are you won't get sick, but there's also chances are you will get sick.
Oh, you're saying like why the transition?
Yeah.
Probably because they figured out.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, like why? But I mean, was it because they just started getting sick?
Probably.
And they just had to,
Yeah.
What was the turning point?
Well, think about like our dog. He could eat raw meat all day and he's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
So I wonder if before we discovered cooking, before we were all about cooking, if maybe our digestive tracts were a little bit more inclined to be able to handle raw meats.
Yeah, because our teeth are that way for a reason. Wow, that's interesting.
Profundity here on Better University. You came for the nuggets in the intermittent fasting, but instead you got a lesson in anthropology? Anthropology. There we go.
Yeah.
I was going to say anthropomorphize, but wait a minute, that's something completely different. For those of you playing the home game, anthropomorphized is when you apply human characteristics to animals, right?
I don't know.
I've never heard that word.
I've actually never heard that word.
Heather, you're watching this. You're an English major.
Yeah, Heather.
Anthropomorphized, right? Do we have any other English majors out there? Anthropomorphized, giving human qualities to animals? Nope, nobody?
No.
Oh, well. I'm just going to assume I'm correct then.
How do you spell it? I'll look it up.
Anthro, A-N-T-R-T-H-R-O.
What was it?
Anthropomorphic. There you go.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay.
Having human characteristics. Okay, so you don't have... Now I remember. It's not just applying it to animals. You can also apply it to objects too, like giving a boat a female name. You are anthropomorphizing the boat. Or, saying, oh man, my new car, yeah, she's a real beaut, gets, X amount of miles to the gallon. I have just anthropomorphized that car. Not much, but I have.
Because she's a beaut?
Mm-hmm.
A beaut. Okay. Come on, nuggets. Got a few more. Right. They're so good. I think the best part is because I use the olive oil because it adds that fat.
So, I mean, now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the unhealthy, the alternative way I would make chicken bites, eggs, I would use eggs instead of olive oil.
Yeah.
But now, eggs aren't necessarily unhealthy for you.
Okay.
Yep.
But out of curiosity, why the choice of the oil instead of the eggs? Is there a rhyme or a reason, or just you prefer it to the egg?
One time the recipe I made last week, let me start from the beginning. So at Wegmans, there is this chicken recipe, or there's always this, I forget I'm live. There is this chicken at Wegmans that they made with olive oil, and it was so tasty. It wasn't just like a regular chicken breast.
It probably helps the skin get a little bit crispier and hold more of the flavor in.
Exactly. So it's just so flavorful. It's olive oil. Like the basic chicken that they have pre-cooked at Wegmans. Yeah. The base is olive oil. I'm like, why have I never done that? Huh. So I did it once, and it's so good. Mm-hmm. It's just juicy and all those other gross words.
An M word comes to mind.
Now Rob's
manageable.
On that train.
I know. You got me.
So, fun little story about that M word. There was one Thanksgiving, we were sitting around the table, and my grandmother had called in to, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and tell us about, the amazing turkey she had just had. Uh-huh. And I said to her, Grammy, how would you describe that turkey that you just had? She's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, not succulent, but...
Why did someone hate it?
Oh, gosh, yeah, my mother, and, Jamie was also sitting with us at the table, and she can't stand that word either. Oh, so I'm just trying so hard to lead my poor grandmother to saying this word on speakerphone while everybody's trying to eat dinner. And it took a little bit, but I finally got it. I got it. I got her to say it. And I slept on the couch that night.
Worth it.
Worth it. Oh my
So
god,
worth it.
savage.
Savage AF.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so now you guys get a little bit of an idea what it's like to hang around me and what it must have been for my poor parents.
The rents.
That being said, I can't take all the credit for that. I am my father's son, so he's to blame, really.
Yeah.
True. They raised us. We didn't just raise ourselves.
Right? What, do I look like Mowgli? Am I out in the woods running around with the wolves? No, I had a mother figure and a father figure. And I don't know why, I just kind of like channeled Mitch Hedberg there for a second. But Mitch Hedberg, yeah, awesome comedian. If you've never heard of him, look him up.
All right, last nuggets.
Nice.
Woo!
Last nuggets. Yeah, so tip for this, keep your mixings near because
Ah, yes.
you may need more, depending on how much you coat it with. But I did pretty well. I'm impressed.
Look at that. It's
Oh,
almost
darn
like
it.
you may have known what you were doing or something.
They
Right?
fit.
Now, for everybody watching at home, do you remember exactly what, how much of each one you used?
So for the recipe that I made, there is half. Okay, hold on.
You should show the Instagram. Bring it up.
What?
Bring them up nice and close.
Show my nuggets. Yes.
Yes.
I'll show you my nuggets.
Show
They're
off
that
them nuggets,
beautiful.
y'all. Chicken Mc... Oh, can't say... Can't say that word. Nope. Hashtag no ads.
Another M word.
So I did, let's see, the majority, so I did about like a cup of panko. Wait, nope, just kidding, a half of panko. And then double of the breadcrumbs, so a cup. And then a half of Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
And that just came out to be pretty much exactly enough.
Yep,
So there you go. Now you all know.
now you all know. And this is about like 4 chicken breasts.
Yes, Jeff. Camo pants. Are you having trouble seeing them?
What camel pants?
Wait. Thank you. Oh, man. Missed opportunity. Perfect joke. Ah.
So that is that. Got 20 minutes left on the. Those looking pretty good. All right, those are cooking well. So I'm gonna put these in. I think it's.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Why am I blanking on how long these need?
Probably like 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, like
that's what I
18
would
minutes.
think.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. What is it? 20 minutes left on the
No.
fries? Nice.
Sweet.
Look
All
at
right.
that.
Look
See,
at
it's
that.
like,
It's like a
man.
Wow.
Wow. Are you a professional or something? Or maybe just a specialist?
A specialist. Yeah.
specialist. All right, so I guess we can chat about fasting.
Yeah, that sounds
Why?
great. Let's shift our cameras around.
Get them.
Oop, hang on, everybody. We are about to switch views. Ready and whoop. There it is. Oh, and the overlay's good. Okay, perfect.
Good.
Oh, what did I just hit?
Oops. Shoot.
All right, I have to remember. I have to cheat back a bit, so that way we can all see Victoria as we chit and we chat. Got that? All right, good. We can
We're
still
good.
see our questions from Instagram.
Yes.
So
absolutely
yeah, pretty cool, guys. You get to see our little operation here. Yeah, it's super organized. It's just a series of laptops and our wonderful fruit basket in the background.
It is.
Thanks for watching. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Sorry, Instagram.
We're back though. We're back.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Ah,
You know,
why is this happening? Can we just like not go back on that screen? Okay.
What's going on?
We're good.
hey, welcome back.
Sorry guys. Okay, we're back. Alright, jeez.
All right.
Louise.
Oh man. So last week when we were sitting down having our rectangular table discussion, somebody mentioned that they would absolutely love to get a little bit of a crash course, some more information on intermittent fasting.
All right.
So, you guys, we love hearing from you guys. We love talking. I mean, I love talking. I can't speak for you guys. I could listen to myself all day. But We also want to educate, and we want to pick topics that are A, relevant, and B, something that people actually want to know about. Things you want to watch. So, because somebody decided, hey, you guys should talk about intermittent fasting, we are now talking about intermittent fasting.
So feel free to throw those out there, any topics.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But we're going to dive right into this as soon as I open up live so I can see questions on Instagram. So, what is fasting? We kind of covered this a little bit last week when we were addressing it, just to say, hey, you know, there's a lot of stuff we can say about this. Maybe we should do a whole episode about it. So, what I want to say about fasting is I want to first tell you what fasting is not, because this seems to be something that a lot of people lose in the translation of figuring out what is fasting. They think it is calorie restriction. Fasting is not calorie restriction. You are not entering into fasting with the objective to consume fewer calories. Now, that being said, as kind of a result of fasting, you do end up consuming fewer calories just because there's only so much room in your stomach, yada, yada, blah. What fasting is it is condensing your eating into windows of time. There's a bunch of different methods and ways you can do this. There's the 24-hour method, which is a 24-hour fast in which you fast from, one meal to 24 hours later to when you would have that same meal the following day. This is one that isn't recommended. You do multiple days in a row.
No way.
That's one that you kind of break up a week with. Another really popular one, and this is actually my preferred method, this is the one that I utilize, is the 16-8. So what the 16-8 means is it means for 16 hours out of every 24-hour period, you are not consuming amounts of calories. For 8 hours of each period, you are consuming calories. Now, another popular misconception with all this is people think that when you are in the fast, you're not supposed to eat anything. That's not entirely true. You can get away with eating just a little bit of foods and trying to make sure you stay specifically to certain macronutrients. Again, you've got to figure out what works best for you, but the idea is you are going to feel hungry when you are fasting. Well, because quite frankly, your body is sending you those signals of, hey, I want some food, the stomach is empty, we need some more nutrients, let's do that. So now we've kind of covered, all right, fasting is windows of time for eating. Fasting is not calorie restriction. Anything you two want to say about that in specifically? Like what is fasting? What isn't fasting?
I don't know. I think you pretty much covered it. And I wasn't aware that you could definitely eat a few things in between, which I would assume would be something like a carb to keep you energized.
And again, it's not supposed to be a full meal. It's supposed to be like a little small snack. Again, you don't have to either. So actually, here, I'll give you a perfect example of kind of like what I do when I'm fasting. So to execute the 16-8 window really well, I add my fast on to the morning. So I just slept for 8 hours.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
I've already got 8 hours of fasting under my belt, so I just continue that for 8 more hours after waking up. So what that ends up normally being is somewhere around noon is when I have my first meal. So I eat between noon and 8 p.m. That's my 8-hour window of feeding. When I wake up, though, I'll absolutely have my coffee. I'll put a little splash of my chocolate milk in it, and I'll go. So at that point, I've got a small amount of carbs, a small amount of protein, and a small amount of fat in my body. But I'm not having a meal. Maybe at some point, right around the middle of the day, or stacked a little bit more in there, I may have a very small handful of berries with a couple nuts. So again, you get a little bit of complex carbohydrates in there, just something to stave off that, what is it? It's that brain fog that you start to get when your body's like looking for sugar and it's not getting it. There's a word for it, and for some reason I'm just not able to put my finger on it right now.
Wouldn't that defeat the whole purpose of fasting?
What?
No.
Eating?
Because the idea is you're in this window of time, in this allotted period, you're not reaching satiatedness?
Satiation?
Satiation? I don't know if either of those are words.
Satiety?
So none of those may actually be real words, but I know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying. Hopefully you guys know exactly what I'm saying too. So you're never filling your stomach. You're never reaching what it would need. It's just kind of like you're sitting around the fire and you throw a twig on it. That's it. So it's not enough to really, reignite anything or get anything going. Now, that being said, obviously eating less during that window of time, you're going to be setting yourself up more for the metabolic benefits that you're going for.
So I guess it more depends on what the purpose of your fast is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I feel like a lot of it right now, it's been in the light because of all the wrong reasons. So people think it's for weight loss, and it's not for weight loss. And also, it's been around for centuries, and it's also in a lot of religions. And I actually work with a Jewish organization and have learned that that's something that they utilize a lot, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
But I think it's just really now getting attention in the wrong ways, and a lot of people aren't educated on knowing how to utilize it,
No, and you're absolutely right in that. Covering on the whole religion aspect, though, I believe we just entered into Ramadan not too long ago. So,
Yeah, it was, shoot, I should know this. Passover.
Yes.
Passover was recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that over?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has passed over.
It has passed over.
But, so again, just to kind of cover that, fasting has been a part of many different religious faiths for centuries. Human beings have known that there is a benefit to fasting, whether it's a meditative benefit or a physical benefit. They've known without really knowing. They're just like, hey, there's some good things that can happen with this. Maybe we should make sure people are doing it as part of their rituals.
Exactly.
Was it if we wanted to talk about the wow. Man, my brain is struggling today. I think it is because it's Saturday. I've got yard work on the brain. So what was it? Jesus wandered the desert, fasted 40 days, 40 nights, somewhere around there?
Yes. Yes.
So again, I can't pretend to be a religious scholar, but again, each, the major faiths, you've got Passover, you've got Lent. You've got Lent, where you're fasting,
So
maybe not necessarily from food, but you're fasting from something in your life.
Yeah. Is that to show dedication to your
they all have different
power
purposes, but that's the majority. It's more of cleansing.
Right.
They look at it in Judaism. They look at it as a cleansing.
I feel like in
purpose,
when we're Catholic, I felt like we were giving something up to
Lent,
to our higher
I think that's
power.
what Lent is, I'm pretty sure.
It's to understand sacrifice, to understand,
It's different.
But also, from an evolutionary standpoint, you would kill, and then you would eat, and then you would not eat for days because.
So that's another thing. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you for bringing that up.
We were talking about that earlier, and I was like, I'm not going to bring it up right now, but
So
it's like you have this raw meat that you have to eat because they didn't cook the meat. So they would have to eat it all, and then they would have to fast until they had their next kill. So it's like
the question
looking at it that way.
Have our bodies evolved to not be that way?
Oh no, absolutely. So you look at the benefits that we still to this day get from fasting, and you can absolutely say with certainty there's still an evolutionary benefit to this mechanism. Just to name a couple things, like the benefits that you can get from fasting, it can absolutely improve your metabolic health.
Oh yeah.
So what does that mean
apoptosis.
exactly?
So your metabolic health is your body's ability to process raw material into fuel. So for example, let's say your insulin levels are really wonky. Your metabolism's burning at a very low rate because it's trying to preserve you. So you bring this fuel in, this really high-grade fuel, and your body just doesn't know how to do or how to use it and what to do with it, so it sends it all to be stored as fat. So by fasting, by giving your body, you gotta watch out, you get that blast up in the face. You're giving your body an opportunity to kind of reset those mechanisms.
Yes.
When
it's
you
just
fast,
to resensitize yourself to insulin and sugar.
Well, that's
it's mostly that.
Yeah, because look at it as we're a sponge, and then we're constantly saturated with all this food, and it's we never give ourselves a break to just give our normal processes a break, to just reset. So the way I look at it is it's like a reset.
Yeah.
You're just
really
constantly being saturated, but then it's you're wringing out your sponge and you're restarting. That's the way I look at it.
I like that visual.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I can get behind
a sponge. Yep.
Ah.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm like a sponge, soft and porous.
Yes.
But So with the whole insulin and glucose thing,
Yes.
that is an absolute immediate benefit you get from fasting.
And triglycerides.
Yep. Your insulin levels start to go back down.
Mhm.
Your blood glucose starts to decrease.
Yes.
I mean, we know that happens. We are absolutely aware.
Oh, yeah.
So when you go for blood work, what do they ask you to do? They ask you to fast. So that way they can get a baseline reading of what your blood glucose is, because you're not adding anything into it.
Exactly.
Some of the other really good documented benefits is heart health.
Yes, absolutely. I looked a lot into this. I looked at, when I do my research on stuff, I definitely just look into the real studies of stuff.
Yes.
And we've talked about that there's like controversy and stuff depending on the funding, but heart health, big time. Like I said, the triglycerides too, and like I'm assuming, I mean, we just talked about metabolic health. A ton of people are diabetic, have like the big bellies, like all this metabolic problems. There's like 5 different categories or something, like high triglycerides, high some type of cholesterol, and a ton of people have this metabolic issues.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just downhill from there.
So with that being said, another preventative thing that this can help with is diabetes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, of course, not type 2 diabetes.
And do it safe with a person, with either a nutritionist or a doctor. Have to.
Yes.
Don't do that on your own if you're diabetic.
If you're not diabetic yet, introducing this can also help you prevent yourself from getting
more
to
of that.
Yes.
I'm so mad I don't remember the name, but there was this documentary about fasting. Oh, I think it was on Amazon.
Oh my God, and cancer?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was overseas somewhere where, of course, it was like a structured format where there's like physicians and everything, but they had all these patients that couldn't get rid of these like various health issues, and then they would have them do this extended fast, and it would cure them.
Yeah.
I have read some of the studies that documentary is based off of. Yes.
It was just so fascinating. So just like the medicinal portion of fasting, and the cancer and like.
It makes so much
sense. They got cancers to go into remission from fasting.
Stop feeding it. Yep. Stop feeding the bad cells. That's it.
Exactly. Yep.
Jeez.
It's really cool.
Well, because if you want to think about it from a microbiology level, let's get a little nerdy here for a second. So, that sounds really outlandish to say fasting started to send cancer into remission. It's like, whoa, that is crazy to claim. But let's take a step and just kind of look at this on the microbiological level. So when cancers start to form, it's basically a cell who put its coding out there to copy itself, because that's what cells do. They make copies of themselves. Cells die, they reproduce, they replicate. But all of a sudden, something happened and the coding kind of got out of whack. And that's a cancerous cell. And then that cell starts to make copies of itself. And the reason why there's certain cancers you have to be more concerned with, or you have to watch closer than others, is because some of that coding, when it copies itself, it almost like it breaks the copy switch into overdrive. So that now defunct cell not only is making copies of itself, but it's making copies of itself 100 times faster than the normal healthy cells. So we think about it from this perspective. You fast, and what happens? So the body's going to start to wring itself out, using that sponge analogy. It's going to start to decide where is the most important places to allocate resources. So the brain is going to be one. That's going to go to there. The blood is going to start to get a little bit more thick. It's going to not be quite as thin. The nutrients are going to be a little bit more concentrated in smaller pockets. So now we have to think, okay, so the cells, they're probably not going to divide quite as quickly. They're probably not going to be going through the cellular death because there aren't the materials to reproduce and make this thing happen faster. So now the body says, oh, here's some cells that we don't really need. They're not performing any function. They're not doing anything for us. We're just going to shut this off completely. Now, I'm simplifying the crap out of this to help you kind of understand what's going on. But that's exactly why they were starting to find that these extended fasts were causing cancers to go into remission.
That is insane, but it makes so much sense.
It's so fascinating.
It makes the most sense.
So now here's another big one. And this one they've been starting to do more and more studies with, because this is something that a lot of people have been affected by. I'm sure at least one person watching right now has experienced this or has had a family member or a really close friend who's gone through this. Alzheimer's.
Yes.
they're starting to find that there are links between preventative measures to Alzheimer's, even improving conditions in Alzheimer's, with fasting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how that could work. We don't really know too much.
So again,
about
that one's one that hasn't been
Yeah.
extensively tested and peer reviewed.
It makes sense though with what it's
Well,
done.
how does it make sense? Like,
Well, I
what
mean,
do you think?
I don't know. I guess just in terms of what fasting can do.
Yeah,
that
the
we know.
potential-
You know what I mean?
potential,
Like that's
yeah.
what I mean is like how
The
we can how that
potential.
can be applied.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
we still don't know a lot
I know.
about
No.
Alzheimer's. Like
Yeah.
it's very
I know, it's
pervasive.
so
We've
sad.
seen it, but we don't have an understanding
It's awful.
of it completely yet.
No.
So
No,
Well,
we
that's
don't.
so complicated. I feel like I just see people on a daily basis with in my job with like dementia, and like it could be medication related. There's so many factors.
Yep.
Especially to something so general like memory loss, and that's a very general thing, I think. So.
It is. Yep. It's
all right.
craziness.
So I guess going from here, there was one thing that I wanted to talk about. I forgot about this part. So people who work out in the gym.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Utilize intermittent fasting as a way to.
Whoa.
You live and you learn, right?
Wow, that's a lot of steam.
That's a lot of steam.
Oh boy.
Yep. Wow.
Sorry, everybody. Just making sure it's not making its way to the fire.
Beep, beep.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That would be very obnoxious and loud. But nope, we're good. We're good. Okay. So one of the reasons why somebody who's in a very healthy gym routine, why intermittent fasting can kind of help give them an extra boost is, well, first off, by improving your metabolic health, resetting your insulin sensitivities, all that stuff. Like, well, that's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
From a fitness standpoint, that's going to allow you to burn your fuel brighter, faster.
Yeah.
Your body's going to be less apt to store fat, and it's going to be more apt to burn fat because you're stoking the metabolic fires. Here's the other awesome kicker that actually I haven't heard a lot of people talk about before when they talk about intermittent fasting. When you fast, the levels of HGH in your blood increase.
I saw that too.
So for those of you playing the home game, HGH is human growth hormone. It is something you naturally produce, which aids in the building of muscular tissue.
No wonder. I didn't know all you people at the gym did this.
IGF-1 is something separate, right? IGF-1.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because I looked. There's something that I saw on that too.
IGH. I mean, are you saying that it's different?
No, I saw something on like a study that it talked about IGF-1 and how it helped. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying, but all I saw was IGF-1.
Go back.
Anyways, continue.
I know it stems back to how the mitochondria are affected by a fast. I'm going to dumb this down again a little bit, but basically these holes start to form, and then the HGH is then kind of secreted. It's squeezed out of the cells, and then now that you've got these holes, you start to eat again. That's where energy is drawn right back into, and you've still got all this extra HGH kind of floating around. So it's like you get a Lego set and you start building it and working with it, and then somebody brings you over their Lego set of the exact same model, but they're missing a few pieces, and they say, well, I can't build it with this, and then just kind of dump it into yours. So now you've got all these extra building blocks to play with, but you've already got everything that you need already.
Yes.
Interesting.
Man, I hope that made sense.
I love these little.
It's helpful to
It is.
put it towards things that we already know.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a very visual learner.
Yeah.
Anytime I can equate something to something tangible, something I've held before, or something I understand, it helps me bridge the gap in my own knowledge.
Yeah.
What else is there left to say? I guess we could talk a little bit about how we've done fasting and what it's done for us.
Sure.
So, do you want to kick
so
that one off?
I personally I haven't found any benefit for the intermittent fasting for me.
Okay.
Because I think it's more beneficial to do occasional longer fasts.
Okay, so
as
like throw in a 24-hour fast.
Exactly, just throwing that in there. So, again, like when I did, of course, when I woke up, I didn't eat. And then I think I did about like 16. No, I did longer than that. It was a while ago.
16.
I don't remember.
When you woke up?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was a long period of time, let's just say. Shorter than 24 hours. But it's funny because I started getting this like euphoric feeling after a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, and then just like a
Okay.
lot of it, just this crazy mental clarity. And then once I started reintroducing food again, I just felt like reset. So I haven't actually done it in a while, but ever since last week where we first brought this up, I'm like,
that's
I gotta do that again.
Now that we talked about it,
maybe I should
bam,
get back on that.
Exactly. So I mean, I only like the long periods of fasts.
Yeah.
I found for me the most beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, for a second, I thought it was frozen, but I realized you had just paused it.
Paused what?
Yeah, our YouTube feed.
Oh.
Yep.
We're good. Everything's good. We're all still moving. Everything's fine.
We're good. We're fine.
I do not fast.
Yeah.
But now that we talked about it, I
Yeah.
see that there are benefits beyond working out and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to mention that there are certain people that should not be fasting at all, like people that are pregnant, and then we talked about the diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
If you do have diabetes now, definitely need to work with someone if you're going to try to do that. I don't even know if they could.
By the way, actually, this is something we probably should have said at the very beginning, but I am going to throw this in here. While we are talking about fasting,
What happened? God, I hate you.
Anyways, I'm going to
Low
keep talking
battery. No, keep
going, yeah.
for
We're good.
everybody else that's good. So everything that we're telling you today is not to be used in place of making sure you clear yourself with your doctor that you are in a healthy enough state to enter into an exercise program, to enter into a dietary type program. Like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say, yes, you're A-okay and cleared to do this. I'm simply going to provide you education on something that's already out there that you could find on your own. This isn't me saying, hey, every single one of you out there, you should try this. This is me saying, hey, if you're curious about intermittent fasting, this is what it is. This is how I utilize it in my life.
Personal experience.
So just, unfortunately, we do have to make sure that we say that because people can be very impressionable and they can think, oh my gosh, here's somebody I really respect and admire and they're talking about this like, I need to start doing this right now, without understanding that maybe they're not in the best place or the best scenario for that.
Going off that, probably most of our people may have had eating disorders in the past, and also anyone that is currently growing right now, like probably up to like 18 years old. I don't think that they you'll stunt something, I feel like. At least like during adolescence. So.
Yeah,
I mean, adolescence, you just eat all the food. You eat all the food.
Yes.
Don't worry about that.
Your metabolism's burning at what we call child level, which sounds really small, but actually, in fact, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
But no, I think that's really important to have like a healthy relationship with food.
Yes, you
can.
Yes,
and also to have an actual reason to why you want to fast.
Yes.
And be educated, and also I think
reason.
to reintroduce the foods properly, because if you're just gonna fast and then eat McDonald's, then it's just
true. We didn't talk about
you're
that.
not really doing anything good for yourself at that point.
Because you're just fueling yourself back up, so you want to feel properly.
I'm really happy you brought up the relationship with food, though, because that is something that I definitely want to make sure we harp on. Is having a healthy relationship with food is paramount to anything you could be doing or should be doing. You should not be trying any type of dietary modification if you don't have a good relationship with food.
You gotta be honest with yourself too.
Yeah.
You do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, unfortunately, being a trainer and working in that field, there's you get clients that do come through and they just have these terrible images of themselves and they think that if they're in the gym 7 days a week for 6 hours at a time and they're starving themselves that, they're going to get to some place that's going to make them feel better about themselves, but it's just not the case. And 9 times out of 10, they're doing so much more harm for themselves than they could ever possibly be doing good.
Absolutely.
So the number one thing, always, forever, no matter what, if you are trying to get healthy, if you are trying to get fit, the first thing you should do is address your relationship with food.
Yes. That is the first and foremost.
Yep.
Most important.
So I'll kind of finish up with the 16-8 method, which is what I do. I know I had kind of started with that, and then somehow we got railroaded off that, I think.
I know, I forget, but...
So Danielle was explaining that she likes to do the 24-hour fast method, or not exactly 24, but it's a longer period of time, and it's more, spaced out. When I do the 16-8, typically I'll do it for 3 or 4 days in a row, or just like a working week. And generally speaking, it's not a week where my workouts are focused around heavy lifting or, really grueling conditioning circuits.
Good.
Because, quite frankly, there are points that I'm going to be a little bit depleted. And if my workouts, the timing of my workout isn't going to quite sync up with when I'm having food, your workout has to reflect that.
Yeah.
So, especially for any time I try to do a morning workout, I'll treat that more of like a stretching or a mobility session, something a lot more low grade where I'll just be more focused on meditative movement. And then, if I'm going to work out after I have a big meal, well, not immediately after a big meal, but like 2 hours after a meal, that'll happen. So typically I'll eat that meal right at noon, and then like 2 or 3 o'clock is when I'll get my big heavy lift in.
Yes.
But yeah, you never want to try to do premium work without any fuel in your body.
Yeah.
You can. It's a great way to actually burn fat, but it's miserable.
Yeah.
It is absolutely miserable. For anybody out there who's ever actually worked out while fasted, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get in there and just 5 minutes into you're like, I hate life. What am I doing? I'm so hangry.
Yep.
Also, I think a lot of people now are doing it every single day. The intermittent fasting.
You do have to give yourself a break.
But also, the body's going to adapt.
Yeah.
Well,
to whatever
yes.
you do on a consistent
Yes.
basis.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
no point. Like,
We never got to that.
Fasting
They do it for
in the
fat loss,
beginning breaks up that adaptation.
Yes.
Your body is always looking, maybe, I don't know if we've actually really got onto this one before, but yes, that is a very good point.
Yes.
The body is always trying to create balance and homeostasis.
Homeostasis.
It is always going to adapt. That's why when you increase your caloric intake to build muscle, eventually you hit this point where you're not really going to keep building muscle.
Plateauing.
Always.
Yes.
Plateauing.
No matter what you do, everything.
Yep, that's why you
The
always...
same turn of the hat is if you start cutting calories from your diet to cut, eventually your body's going to drop your metabolism to meet that new caloric intake.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hate to say it this way because this is so stupid and it's not accurate at all, but you've got to confuse your body. But
yes and no.
Yeah, so it's not, while that whole confusion thing isn't real, it's just your body is always trying to adapt.
You
so,
gotta work with it, how about?
Yeah.
Yes, you
Maybe.
do. Sometimes you want to swim against the current. Sometimes you want to go with the current.
It. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Man, I feel like...
So that's why, the occasional fast, I think, is superior to every single day. Because I feel like when people do the intermittent, it's like they do it every single morning. That's not what it is.
Well, and then just like you said, you get used to that.
And
so
your body adapts,
starts
there's no point.
your body goes into a low energy in the morning and a high energy in the
It
evening.
takes away the complete purpose
like
of what a fast is, which
people
I'm
that
sure
don't
most
eat
people don't even
breakfast.
know.
Yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah.
Very silly.
Love it. Man. Wow, we talked about so much great stuff today
Yes.
around fasting. Before we kind of finish wrapping up, do you guys out there, did we touch on everything you wanted to hear about fasting? Are there still some other questions you might have about it? We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to answer some questions for you and help you feel more comfortable and confident with your knowledge on the subject matter. So while we're kind of wrapping up, we'll have Danielle show off her chicken nuggets.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
If you guys have any
My
questions,
nuggets?
go ahead, send them in now, and then we'll wrap.
Questions or topics?
Oh yeah, no, that too. If you have any ideas for topics that you'd love for us to discuss next week, please throw them out now.
Yes.
Oh man.
For my nuggets.
Oh, look at that.
My
Oh,
nuggets.
oh, nuggets.
So to cook along with Danielle.
Oh,
Yes.
woo! I thought I learned.
You thought honestly, I have not learned that
You
yet.
still get blasted.
Every
Oh,
time.
every time.
Almost every time.
But here is the sweet potato fries. Yum.
Nice.
Delish. Also, another thing on fasting. As a woman, I don't think it's best to do it while we're menstruating.
Oh, that's a
Because
good point.
fasting raises cortisol, so our body's already under such,
Ah.
so I think
Good
that
point.
also doing it around your
Thank
menstruation.
you for bringing that up, because I would not have thought to talk about
Exactly, I
that.
just kind of thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just another point
That is.
that I thought of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just goes to show all these factors. that-
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have
there's
probably
many
didn't
factors
talk
that go
about
into
some
it.
of them,
Yep.
so.
We're back in a chat session now. Hold on.
Love it.
See? Look at me just playing around with the cameras.
Oh, jeez.
Because all of a sudden, I was looking at it,
Okay,
you completely
yeah.
disappeared from what we were doing.
All right.
Oh, man, that was good.
That was a good one. I like
enjoyed that.
fasting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fast.
Yeah?
I'm
All
gonna
right,
try it.
there you
I'm
go.
gonna try it.
Yeah. I
So-
haven't done it in a while.
So just to kind of do our usual wrap at the end, for those of you watching at home, if you like the show, if you enjoyed watching it, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that follow button, whatever medium you're watching us through. Because again, the more eyes we get, the more people we get to help, and that is really what we're all about. I do have a quick plug. I just recently finished adding my personal keto program that I use. So, buzzword. So, ketogenesis, we're not going to talk about this today because that is a whole huge thing all on its own. But if you've heard that buzzword and you are interested in some information on it, or if you are curious about potentially trying a ketogenic type diet, I have a program that I follow when I do it, and I actually just added it to our Coach Catalyst app. So shortly it will be available as a course on our website, but I'm running another group of people through it. So if that's something you're interested in, drop me a DM at @thefitferret or email me dan@betteruniversity.com, and I can give you some more information as I take a few people through that.
So did we fix the tier 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So now when you go to our website and you go to the course catalog, it should be a little bit more obvious what the tier 1 subscription is.
Yay!
So our tier 1 subscription, as we've said to you guys before, $5 a month. You get your own version of the recipes that we do prior to the show. You get it a week before the show comes out. It's got the recipe on it. It's got your grocery list on it. It breaks down the meals into your macro portions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So especially if you're trying to track caloric intake and macronutrition, having something like this, you don't have to do any guesswork. You don't have to weigh all that stuff out because it's already been done for you. But yeah, we're just trying to save you guys some time while you're trying to get healthier. And we're trying to help anybody out who maybe needs some other fresh ideas for healthy meals they can prepare in the kitchen.
Exactly. All
So
good
yeah.
stuff.
Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope everybody enjoys
Mother's Day.
Sunday tomorrow. So for those of you who have mothers, please make sure you take time out of your day to celebrate them and make sure they understand that you do appreciate they carried you for 9 months and kicking and screaming.
And weren't able to fast during that period.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I'm just kidding.
What a bummer. I'm sure you wouldn't want to anyway.
But yes, but not to be unsympathetic. For those of you that tomorrow may be a little bit difficult for, definitely encourage you to reach out to some friends or potentially another adult or older woman figure in your life who has presented, some of that same kind of encouragement or at least visage for you. And, absolutely too, it's probably a good day to take some meditation time for yourself.
Count your blessings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys.
So hey, happy Saturday, guys. For those of you in the New England area, make sure you get out and enjoy the weather today, because you ain't going to enjoy it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Do. Yikes. He just was that a sneeze or a cough?